All right, welcome to the Eric J. the Great podcast show. We got a special guest on the show today, Lance Fields. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
All right, no problem. So for anybody out there, this is gonna be a real um, informational episode, just on gems that you can apply to your life to take your life to the next level, whether that be finances or wherever the case might be. But first off, you just start off by telling people where you from and how old are you?
Yeah, I'm from the great state of Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, the capital. I've been here primarily through my life, but I grew up a little bit of a bad life with my dad was in sales and in coaching, so we moved around a lot. But I would call Columbus, Ohio, my home, and that's currently where we're running our financial planning practice out of Columbus.
Okay. So, what's the first thing that come to your mind when you think of your hometown?
Uh, I guess you gotta say the Buckeyes, right?
Mhm.
The Ohio State Buckeyes, that comes to mind. Um, when I think about it, I would say Mount Vernon, Mount Vernon Avenue. That was uh, a place of hanging out. We had a coming home festival. They're bringing it back here lately. It got a little rowdy when all sides of town come to one area. You can imagine. But yeah, I think about that area. That used to be what, and I'm sure a lot of cities across the nation have that area that you heard was kind of like the Harlem of our city, where a lot of black businesses and well-to-do um, people of color were congregate. Had all the beauty salons, barbershops, the jazz joints, and restaurants, and that would kind of be where it's called like a Bronzeville area, Brownsville. So that was where the mecca of our city was. And weekend festival called the Coming Home. So yeah, I think about Ohio State. I think about East High School, the great East High School, one of the greatest high schools in the state, in Mount Vernon. So that's what I think of with Columbus.
Okay. So, for anybody that never been to Columbus, just describe how it was growing up there as a younger kid slash teenager. Some of the circumstances or struggles you'll come across just growing up there.
Yeah, I would say it was just like any other urban area, right? Some folks may call it slow lumbus, but we had the same type of struggles of any urban area in the nation, right? Um, so you think about poverty, you think about going to church on Sundays and being in the Christmas plays and going to the corner store, getting the penny candy. I mean, all the things you can imagine, the drunks and the winos and the bums and the hobos. Had a bit of everything, but I would tell you, I grew up middle class, I would say, lower to middle class life. I don't think I ever missed a meal or anything like that. May have been something I didn't want to eat, but yeah, I can't say that we was on government assistance or things like that. I don't know. We found ourselves on reduced lunch somehow, but I think my grandma knew the numbers on what to write down so we can get that reduced lunch. But I couldn't say we was struggling and on welfare or anything like that. But I've lived and seen it, right? Friends and different family members that didn't have a meal every night, but I would say it wasn't too much crime that I was dealing with. We had the whole, the crack area in the '90s, and drugs dealing going on, and a little bit of crime. But I had a good family, was able to stay away out of that stuff. Prioritize academics and athletics in our family, so it wasn't too much time on our hands to kind of get in too much trouble. We all had that, little knucklehead stuff that we did, but one of the big things that I remember growing up is Jordans and starter coats was a big thing, right? And we kind of had a little bit of that going on. One of classmates coming up in school, I didn't know him directly, but he got murdered for his starter coat. And then they started to really tell us to stay away from wearing those just because the stuff that was dealing with. And someone bring a gun to school, I think maybe my sophomore year, and no longer we could have book bags, stuff like that. But I can't say it was a fight or a gun every now and all the time at school coming up. But, we had the fights, we had the same similar things and struggles that folks had, but we're no New York or nothing like that, right?
Yeah, I feel that. So, you had a two-parent household or any siblings?
Yeah, I got an older brother, younger sister. I would say my parents were divorced when I was around 7, but prior to that, two-parent household. After that, joint custody. My mom might have been ahead of the game. She gave custody to her two sons to my dad, right? And it was a joint custody, but he was the primary um, custodial parent, and then we stayed with my mom in the summers. So it was a joint custody where we had the same. We knew when we was going to what household, but then also stayed with my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents, both sets of grandparents. So it's one of those things. I would say I'm really one of those village raised, right? A child. I feel like I've lived with at least each and every one of my aunts and uncles, and then also both sets of grandparents. But me and my brother was consistently together. And then my sister's younger. She's about 7 years younger. We got different moms, but we would always be with her. And then my other brother, her brother James. So we would always kind of all be together. So tight family, constructive, as far as household, but not the traditional, two parent, leave it to beaver type thing. We had a village.
Okay. So when you graduated high school, did you go to college?
Yeah, I actually went to college, and I went to Ohio University. So people get confused if you're not from Ohio. There's a couple other schools in Ohio outside of Ohio State, but yeah, I went to Ohio University, the Bobcats, and I played football down there at Ohio U. Grateful to earn a athletic scholarship for my time there. My brother was on the squad as well. My dad actually played and coached at Ohio U. So it was kind of a legacy thing there.
Okay. And what did you major in college?
Yeah, I actually majored in health administration. I was a business major, so I got in as a pretty good business school. And then I actually changed my major my sophomore year to health administration. Um, and I graduated in a health administration major. And yeah, I always thought I was going to be like a hospital administration, a CEO of a hospital. Uh, you know, healthcare. I wanted a industry where I felt I wouldn't be struggling to get a job when I got out of school. Most of us had aspirations to playing at the next level once we got to college, but wasn't right quite my path. But I wanted to make sure after playing days, I had something that I could fall back on, and health administration was a opportunity that I took once I kind of transitioned from business school.
Okay. So, as far as health administration, were you involved in health administration when you got to college before you got into your financial practice, or do they go kind of hand in hand?
Yeah, it's kind of different industries totally where I kind of got out of health administration right after I graduated. Quite frankly, it was required for an internship to be completed to get my degree. So I kind of got a hands-on experience of what it would be like, which wasn't the greatest experience. So I had an internship where didn't quite go as I thought, where I thought I would be in a lot of different leadership and middle management meetings and decision strategy outlays. As obviously, the goal was going to be a hospital or health administrator. But the hospital was getting bought out that I was involved with my internship. So a lot of people were scrambling and could care less of what kind of curriculum they had for the interns, right? And I end up getting pushed into a long-term care um, overall practice of my internship. So I found myself in nursing homes and long-term care facilities or in hospice care, which we had a totally separate major for that at our school. So this was like not what I was expecting, which it was a great learning experience. I wouldn't kind of change it at this point now that you know what you know, but that just really took the energy out of my wanting to go into the health administration. And I seen how it kind of worked, right? And I figured if I'm going to go in business, I didn't want to be in business in that industry because, you know, uh, the healthcare industry is a rob Peter to pay Paul, right? Everybody's not insured, but you can't deny that care. And I've seen some of the tricks and trades that go on in that industry. And I got out gracefully before I got in. And I actually was able to just come back home because my internship was down in Birmingham, Alabama. It must have been the hottest 2 weeks ever. And I had my brother's car with no AC. So that might have been another reason I wanted to just get the heck out of Alabama. But I was able to lean on my network and called a few guys that I knew. And they were actually working at one of the Fortune 500 companies here in Columbus, and it was actually insurance finance company, and that's kind of the rest was history from there.
Okay. So you leaving health administration and just basically going to your plan B, getting into insurance and finance. So did you have a passion for those things growing up, or was it just something you just found yourself you was good at and it grew on you?
Yeah, I can't say that I had a passion of insurance or finance. I mean, shoot, think about it. I love Monopoly, right? I was one of the best in that in my family, but that kind of makes you think about money. And I had a little sticker business when I was in grade school. I almost got kicked out. My dad had to come in and say I wasn't running a sticker cartel. People wasn't eating lunch. I was taking their lunch money with these little stickers I was selling. But I kind of fell into it, right? Graduate from school, major in something, then you don't find yourself in that field. You kind of like, what am I going to do? So I just, again, leaned on my network and was able to get into a great company, and it just happened to be an insurance financial company, and kind of just got in there and stayed at that company for 16 years. I wasn't doing what I'm doing now. I was more in the operations and middle management leadership. I came in just as a data entry customer service rep and then kind of just navigated my way through different roles and leadership and was a client at the company that I am now and just found myself on this side of the table just by not being excited to go to work every day at my other role. So again, just kind of leaning on my friends and my network, maybe over a beer, was complaining about what I was doing. And he said, send me your resume. And it was kind of somebody that I wouldn't necessarily think about sending my resume, but just did it. Maybe God, right? Just still sent it anyway. And lo and behold, I got a call from the recruiter from the current company I'm with, and ever since I've been here ever since. So going on 7 years, running my own financial planning practice. Um, and yeah, it's one of those things. It's just I think God has His own plan, regardless of what plan we think we had. And that's kind of I think I would say kind of just slipped up into it, but was been in the financial services since 2000. But just the personal and business planning the last 7 years, was familiar with the firm that I'm with just by being a client, but really never saw myself on this side. So it kind of just worked out.
Okay. So for everybody out there, now that you're in your current role, Just kind of explain like what do you do day to day, and what do you like as far as like what are you trying to achieve and get out to the people, like things that they should know.
Yeah, so day to day, just a connector, right? Just trying to connect people's goals, connect people with different people just by once I hearing your goals. And obviously, my job would be to just try to help them identify financial security and what that means to them, right? So everybody's financial plan and financial footprint is different and individualized to themselves, but each and every day, I'm just trying to help manifest individuals and families' goals, right? Now it's gonna take work and putting a plan in place and then working it. But I would say just being a connector and trying to connect those goals. And when it comes to finances, right, you got to have something to work with. So we're just trying to make sure that you got all that you need in place as relates to having your day-to-day needs met. But then when it comes to the above and beyond, where can we be most efficient in saving some of that surplus and what areas? And the concepts that we talk about are typically just tied to your goals. Now, when it comes to recommendations, right, there's only so many things that are available out there on the market that people can invest in or purchase for a financial planning tool, but it all will be predicated on that individual's or that family or business owner's needs, right? So I would say, another equivalent role that I would say I have would be like a barber, right? And just listen stories, right? And hopefully people get vulnerable enough to share some of their deep, dark secrets or goals that they may have never even shared, right? You'd be surprised when we become adults, no one really sits and listen to us, right? And it's you'd be surprised what you discover if you can just shut up and listen to someone's goals and seeing how we can help. So, yeah, I would just say just being a connector and trying to see how we can connect the dots as it relates to those individuals or families' financial security.
Okay. So when we talk about connecting the dot with people's financial security, are we talking about in the aspect of business credit, personal credit, uh, paying off debt, saving money, IRAs? I mean, what is it, like all those type of things?
Yeah, it's all those now. I won't directly help with each and every one of those things. So, like helping with some credit dispute, some of those things that you have, we got referrals that really do that at a high level. But having that conversation and telling me about what you're dealing with and what you've learned over the years or how you felt about money or who was your biggest influences, I do want to know all that. But yeah, I wouldn't say, call Lance to help you get your credit straight, right? There's people that we can get you in that area to help with that. But yeah, we want you to be thinking about, okay, if I want to start a financial plan, right? Come to me, talk about some different goals. Let me understand what you already have set up so we can actually put that plan in place. And yeah, we'll talk about IRAs if it makes sense for retirement goals. We'll talk about protecting your income if, God forbid you become sick or injured. We'll talk about life insurance. We don't want you not leaving a legacy and things of that nature. And we'll talk about anything else under the sun. If you are a business owner, how can I connect you with the resources that other business owners are needing in your particular field, right? And a lot of times I may send people out to different areas or different people to, again, boomerang back, right? Because there may be something that they need to immediately address before actually starting their personal financial plan or business plan.
Okay. So as far as so how do you guys generate revenue? So do y'all have like monthly plans or subscriptions, or how does that go about when you get people that say, all right, I want you to put a financial plan for me. So I'm little Joe, I'm 25 years old, no kids,
That's
but
right.
my finances might be messed up. So, but I want to next 5 years I'm trying to get here. So, how
Yeah.
am I doing that? So
So yeah, and just like any other financial advisor in the industry, there's really two ways you can make money in this game, right? You can be a fee-based planner, or you can be commission-based or relationship-based, right? Um, we have both ways that we can charge clients. I'm choosing to primarily run my practice on a relation base where, you know, we are leaning on our clients and prospects and, some marketing strategies to just get as many referrals and prospects that we can to reach out and help. Now, we do have certain areas that we feel really, really confident, really good, and like working with those areas, but we like working with anybody that takes this process serious, right? So, if you was to refer me to, a coworker, right, 25-year-old just starting in their first big boy, big girl job, right, we'll have that conversation. We won't charge a fee to have that conversation, right? There's a lot of work going in that doesn't really come back in the form of a check. Now, that's my job to make a lot of this sometimes complex strategies make sense for individuals and then have them be held accountable on, you told me this was really important to you. Why won't we implement this to close that gap? And if they choose to want to put up with me for the next 30, 40 plus years, right, and hold them accountable, we'll partner up, we'll handshake, and we'll get some products in place. And the companies that we partner with to put those products or recommendations in place will compensate myself and my team in the form of a fee or commission.
okay. Yeah, so this is like a big diagram. Like you got the person starting at a dot, and then depending on the person's individual need, because it's case by case, because everybody is different, then you implement all the relationships and partners you have with your practice to get them to wherever they're trying to get to. And then that package might be, for a person that could be like 300 a month, but next person could be the same age and they might need a package that probably costs 1,200 a month or something, something like that.
That's right. That's right. So it's all based on the need, right? So if we do needs based analysis and recommendations, right, we're not telling people to do something that won't make sense. So we're all running on the regulation and the compliance of our industry, and we're always wanting to make sure we're acting in the best interest of each and one of our clients. So again, that's why everybody's individual circumstances and plan is going to be different, and how I help one individual may be something totally different for the next.
Okay.
Mhm.
So currently, how long have you been a financial advisor, and how many clients do you have right now, if you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we get challenged that all the time. But yeah, I've been doing this for coming on my seventh year in the business, right? So, um, you know, there's a different, I wouldn't say all clients are considered clients. There's a couple customers inside that client base, right, where we just handle the need and they can care less if I'm calling them and having annual reviews. They just were in a pinch and needed something handled, and we plug that hole for them right now. When you think about active clients, we're having annual reviews, quarterly reviews, and we're still adding towards their plan and checking off boxes, right? We're averaging anywhere between 50 to 70 new clients a year, right? And then those are different households, so that those can encompass some generational planning. So we like to say we're multi-generational planning. I got my young son here that he sits in on different meetings and he doesn't know yet, but we'll have those conversations when it's ready. But so we're actively helping 300 to 400 active clients right now. I would say we're trying to make sure that we build a team out that when we get to 700 active clients, we'll segment our clientele where, some of my junior reps will then service that level of customer. care, so we can keep that relationship going. But we're continuing to onboard clients each and every year as the team grows. It's just not me running this practice, so there's a lot of different folks behind the scene to help out.
Okay. So, when you first started doing this to where you at now, what would you say? How would you describe the growth? What did you? Because I'm pretty sure you probably, like, if you would have asked yourself this 5 years ago, you probably wouldn't have. Well, you everybody has goals, but it's kind of different when you see it physically happening and something is growing. Because I'm going through that right now with my show. Like, I'll be thinking in my head, something ain't as big as what it is, and then when I have people I don't know telling me like, "Oh, I heard about it here," or something like that, you know what I'm saying? It's like word of mouth is powerful.
That's right. Yeah, I would say just those first few years, man, just starting a business and changing the mindset from a W-2 to a business owner, right? It was a learning curve for sure, right? I remember in those last few years at the other firm I was with in leadership, right? I could, you know, push a couple papers around, look real busy a couple days before vacation, and then regardless, that check was still going to be the same, right? I think about now the way I have to run my calendar and run my business. The business can care less if I'm putting in so many days in a week, so many days in a year. It's what it is, right? So it was a big mindset change when you gotta really uh, hunt and eat what you hunt, right? So, that mindset changed and just, um, getting through those doubts when business was in your mind slow or wasn't going at the pace that you thought or the trajectory, right? So just having that patience and, you know, having those dark moments and knowing that you're not doing it alone, whether it's you're leaning on family, staying in prayer, right? And understanding that it's not about you, which we can get in our own way a lot of times when it comes to creating a business and starting something. You go in it about trying to serve a different purpose and a client or doing what's best in everyone's most, best interest. But then, you start seeing the growth in your bank account not going or matching what you thought it was, and you can find yourself not really being in the right place. I think having moments of backing up and really understanding why we're doing this and having that why, I think all of us need to lean into that because it won't ever really happen on your own time. So just kind of staying 10 toes down and knowing it's a bigger purpose than those great high moments and then those even low valleys.
Okay. So, another question. So, in your 7 years of doing this, when you think back on it, what would you say was your big break when you knew, like, all right, this is putting me on a level where this is going to be sustainable for years to come? Because I have to imagine with you dealing with regular people and dealing with actual companies, depending on what those companies might be paying per month, can sustain all the other people, clients that you have that might not be paying as much as those big fortune companies are paying. So who was that first big client that you got that really was a big break for you when you was on the come up?
Yeah, I would say, I got a pretty good and successful that is really what almost took me out, right? Because I was so emotionally tied to those close friends and families, right? But I think what really changed my mindset is just stop assuming that everybody didn't need my help, especially the people that was already well to do, right? And I think that mind shift change was my assumption that they already was taken care of, right? So I would find myself um, really pre-screening them before I would even give them a chance to say yay or nay, right? So uh, one of my really well-to-do cousins, I didn't call him for a while, right? And just finally had the courage, give him a call. It was always an excuse because they live out west. So when I thought about calling them, it was either too early or it was too late. Really, it was just in my head, probably just assuming that they were already taken care of. And quite frankly, they was more than welcome to take the call and was appreciated the call. And I think the biggest thing in their mind was I going to be around to see their planning through, right? Because he's been in different relationships. Again, he's well to do, he's had a very illustrious and continue has a good career. But we just don't like being vulnerable when it comes to our finances and have to do it over and over and have to hire and fire an advisor. And that's what I've learned, especially with our people. We want to get vulnerable or financially butt naked one time, right? And we don't want to have to keep going through that process. And I think that was his biggest hesitation because he's had friends or frat brothers in the finances, but they never really lasted, right? So there's a high attrition rate in this game just because it's tough business first and foremost. And then if you don't get off to the start that you feel like you needed to get to support your family, man, you can go get a high paying job somewhere else, going back to working for someone. So I mean, it's tough to kind of grind it out to see the end in mind where, if you want to try to control your schedule to the maximum, right? At some point you got to be your own boss. Where um, that's where it kind of realized that I finally got out of my old head, in my own head, made that call, and he didn't not say no, right? And he was just really more hesitant of will I be there to see his planning through. But that was just man, right there. I said, okay, now I just got to keep calling people and let them tell me they don't need my help, right? And then I would say COVID, just when things were shut down, we were given an actual, I would say, get out of jail card free pass where actually in our role, we were considered just as essential and critical as like a firefighter or a policeman, just because if we needed to deliver a death claim or a policy, they could not keep us locked in the house. So I had this, what I would keep in my briefcase if I was to get pulled over in those first real intense lockdown, I was able to still hit the pavement, come to work every day, not worried about getting pulled over and why I was out on the road, because I was really fulfilling the duty and keeping people's planning and process, even though we're going through a change that we've never experienced. I think between those two situations really changed my mindset on, okay, I can't not do this because if I don't do it, who will?
Okay. So when you say policy, so you deal with life insurance?
So life insurance, disability, long-term care. We do wealth management, so advisory, brokerage, investments, retirement accounts. So we do comprehensive planning. But yeah, that really was allowing us to keep things moving. And gratefully, our firm really tech savvy, and a lot of things became electronic. But obviously, if something happened and we need to show up at a client's house or an older client that's not very email or internet savvy, yeah, they were allowing us to still do our business as usual by being able to serve and meet clients face to face if we needed to.
Okay. So as far as where you at now, you have a nice balance clientele with regular people and businesses and things like that. So where would you say you want to see your financial practice in the next 5 to 10 years, or what are your short and long term goals? What do you want to accomplish?
Yeah, we're trying to take it to the next level. So I just signed a leadership contract where now we're going to be mentoring and leading younger advisors. Again, one thing that I understand is, let's not keep this a secret, and why not bless someone else that may be interested in getting into this industry, right? I think there's a lot of underrepresented industries, and I would say financial finances and financial planning is an industry that's not as represented as it needs to be, as it relates to just minorities, women, um, uh, you know, alternative lifestyle or what have you. I think there's room for growth in this industry to allow everybody at the table. So I see myself continuing to build in my individual practice and also pouring into others as they build their own wealth management practice. I feel like we're headed to a multi-generational practice where, again, uh, you know, we see having my son service as younger client base that we're already meeting, right? As I eventually, have a curtain call at some point. We won't be working forever. We don't want to have our clients think about having to go through hiring another financial planning team. So we're already thinking down the road where we know that primarily financial advisors are old, stale, and pale, right? We want to think big picture and try to get some flavor and some diversity, and also think about getting some younger folks in this game and in this industry so we can continue to serve generations and legacies beyond that we can see here on Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's the name of your company?
Yeah, so uh, I'm working with Northwestern Mutual, but I have my own practice, and folks can just reach out to me, Lance Fields. And you can always catch me on LinkedIn and Twitter, or just I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to leave my information here. But yeah, we have our own individual practice. We're not exclusive to one firm, but I do have a contract with Northwestern Mutual. And when you think about that, um, there's obviously many, many companies out there in the market, but I choose to partner with them just because I was a client prior to starting my own practice, and they've always treated me well. But I'm not exclusive or captive to one firm, so there's other companies that I can actually absolutely represent.
Okay. So if you had to pick one thing that you loved about what you do every day, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say just meeting people, right, and helping uh, them pour, out and put into a plan in place where, we can actually hold them accountable and see those goals come to fruition, right? So I just enjoy being a connector, right? So a people person, just love hearing people's goals and seeing how we can help. So I get joy in just meeting new people, hearing new stories, and then circling back around and hearing some of those success that we talked about 2 to 3 years ago, and see how fast that time had flew and the amazing progress that we made. So I just enjoy that interaction, and then also just the accountability that we have for each other and knowing that we're in it together.
Okay. So I don't know if you did statistics on this, but what is the average time frame when somebody meets you day one and they take it serious, hold themselves accountable, let you hold themselves accountable, do everything right? What's the average turnaround just for like I would say uh a bad financial situation? It ain't got to be like just terrible, but it's bad. What's the average turnaround for them to start seeing some progress if you had to put months or a year or something on that?
Yeah, so we always tell folks wealth is measured in time, right? We have seen rich people fall in and out of money all the time, right? So when we're thinking about building wealth, it's just a slow cook, right? The tortoise always wins the race, right? So that fast money, it comes and goes. When we're thinking about steady Eddie wealth building, it's going to be a lifestyle change, a mindset change. We got to rewire what we thought about money and how we felt about money because it's very emotional. We work hard for our money, right? But at the end of the day, it's just a tool. So we got to really change the mindset about what that money can do for us. And once we change that mindset, you'd be surprised. It's limitless in how fast we can start building that wealth. But until we change the mindset on what we think and view money, we're going to still spin our wheels and still find ourselves in that same circle of swimming in debt, not seeing any of our bank accounts moving in the right direction. It's all case by case, but typically we know, right, if we're meeting somebody, right, and we're calling them, we've been introduced, and you've either been given a heads up or not. But once I get you on the phone and we set that meeting, right, we'll know in the next 30 days if this is a cold, warm, or kind of put into the popper of reaching out next year, right? Because it's all about timing, right? And everybody's timing is different. But based on those few interactions and conversations, we'll know that it's getting a little lukewarm, it's cold. Let's put them out a couple months, circle back around, see if they've made some progress. But simply, we'll send you a budget sheet. We'll send you an investor profile. We'll see what your mindset is based on our conversation. And then we'll know if it's something else to immediately help you with, or if you can just take these few concepts, work on your budget, come around next year, see if we've made some progress. Again, it's almost like putting that test out there. You know, if people are doing their homework, they're taking it serious, right? You know, if they've never turned in that homework or not answering the calls, we kind of know we can go ahead and move on. We're not giving up, but let's go ahead and spend our energy in different circles that really the people that are taking the process serious.
Absolutely. So I know dealing with people's finances, you have to have, close relationships with these people. So if you had to pick, as I don't know how you deal with the clients. I know y'all might have like off guard conversations that not pertaining to their financial planning and things like that. But if you had to like if you pitching your company to somebody and you was just saying like this just ran across my head. So I was just thinking like, who was that one client that you brought out of hell that you would never forget, that you like kind of tell new customers like, hey, I had a person that was like this, and if he can do it, anybody can do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I got a lot of folks that we started from the bottom, right? I think about the Drake song, but now we here, right? I feel like there's been so many of my clients that say you need to reach out to my son, my daughter, right? And just because they know they love them and they haven't been the best with finances. And there's a few folks that come to mind that, we just didn't have anything to even rub together to even think about a financial plan. But just again, through the receptiveness of some of the concepts, you know, we've talked about, most times I don't manage people's like just day to day accounts or what we call your bank account, short term savings. But there's a couple young clients or, that just don't trust themselves. If it's in the bank, it's going to get spent. So we went from 25 to $50 a month just saving in a money market or an insurance service account where, when I called them that 12-month period, or they so surprised on that the money that they say, because it was just out of sight, out of mind. But I tell people, man, it doesn't really take $1 million to start a financial plan. It just really takes you changing your mindset on how you view finances to start a financial plan. Right now, it's just like a workout. What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, right? If we're putting $1 into it, well, we'll get that dollar return. but we gotta really challenge ourselves, right? If you want that financial six pack, try to save 20% that's coming in, right? Simple concepts. Live within 60% of your income, save 20, and then have fun off 20. So we call it the 20-60-20. But we want you to save off the top, right? Just like we're supposed to be saving our tithes and all that good stuff. Just save it off the top. That way, now you're only working with 80, right? And if you choose to have fun off 20, which that's what we've learned, right? We've learned to have fun first, then pay our bills, and then save what's left. Well, typically, there's nothing left because we're in the wrong order. So if you save first, pay your bills, and then have fun what's left, well, it might be sometimes we can't have fun, but there should be no shame in that because you rewarded yourself. And again, we really forget and we live in the short term, right? And I want people to realize what we do today, they're going to thank themselves, pat their older self to thank what we did at 25, at 30, right? Because when we arrive well positioned at 65, 70, 75, you don't really remember that sacrifice that you made at 35, 40, 25, right? Right. So we can only measure, you know, our pain, right? Is either going to be, if we're going to regret it, right? That's going to be really a heavy burden, and that's going to be measured in pounds, right? But that pain of discipline is really, it's not, it's hard only in the moment, right? Because you're like, man, I'm saving. But when you look back, you're like, man, it wasn't too bad, right? Measured in ounces, right? So we want to have the pain of discipline and not the pain of regret. That's really the ones that win.
Absolutely. So for all the people out there, man, that might know about you, your clients and things like that, what's some things you like doing in your spare time when you're not dealing with financial planning?
Yeah, man. We just like everybody else. We heavy in the playoffs right now. Right. We heavy in travel baseball for my little one. We heavy with the grandkids on the weekends, and when they stop by, just like anybody else, when the sun comes out, we like grilling out, taking a cold one down once or twice. But yeah, I used to play ball fresh off of Achilles surgery, so I think I'm gonna pick up something less impactful. But yeah, we like to stay active and keeping up with the kids and grandkids at this point.
Okay. So for 2023 and say the beginning of 2024, just kind of list some things that your practice has going on that you can people can expect to come in the future. I know you was talking about the mentorship program, but anything else besides that?
Yeah, so we're looking to bring on 2 to 3 new young, or no matter what age you are. Again, we're trying to get a little bit more diverse footprint to represent the communities that we live in and we work in, but also looking to build some more support staff as the practice is going, looking to hire some more support staff to keep the customer service going and keeping everything flowing. Our office will be moving in the next couple months, so we'll be in a new office space here in the fall. But we're excited about that new space, but we're just excited to continue to serve our current and existing clients and open to continue to serve new and upcoming clients here. The biggest thing that we're looking to do is to impact 100 to 200 new families and businesses each and every year. And that's going to be a lot of word of mouth and reaching out and uniquely getting our brand out there through marketing efforts and just kind of continue to preach the gospel of putting in a plan in place, right? Again, generational wealth is a big, passion of mine. And, if we can continue to make some strides and not having to do the fish fries and GoFundMe's as a lack of planning, just because we think we'll eventually get to it, right? No better now than just reach out and have a conversation with someone in this business just to kind of be able to see how we can change the mindset and make some progress, right? Because we've, for far too many generations, started in a deficit for the lack of preparation and planning that the people ahead of us have done. At some point, our generation has to kind of flip that, right? So we can pay it forward and not have our children's children start in a deficit, right? Think about the head start that we can have if they don't have to clean up some of the poor planning that hasn't taken place prior to.
Okay. So give me your Mount Rushmore and give me your top five most influential people to you.
Yeah, man, I would say pretty close folks for me, right? So I would say, my granddad, he's going to make 99 this Saturday. He was very instrumental in World War II. He was one of his team was a part of the team that laid the runway for the Tuskegee Airmen as they were out there, just as capable and just as talented as the other firefighters and pilots out there in the military, but they weren't treated equally, right? So if you think about separate but equal, they definitely had to have their own separate runway that they flew into. And my grandfather was a part of that crew to, help them come in and do what they do safely by making sure he was keeping their individual runway together. And excited that he's going to make 99 here this Saturday. Have a big party for him. And I think about my dad. He was one of the first African American Division One assistant coaches in history. And you think about just what he's met and just the belief in having in yourself and just having pride and trying to be the best and daring to be different. I think about my brother who was really successful in his own right, president clubs and multiple levels of his sales career. He's based out in Atlanta, is doing amazing things, and just the shadow that he led for being an older brother for a younger brother to follow. Just couldn't thank him enough. I think about my mom, who again sacrificed what would have been the norm, right? And trying to raise two boys where we know that men need to be led by men. And I think she may have took some flack on giving up her young boys as if she didn't have the love that a traditional mom would have, and maybe what she had to go through of people thinking of and questioning in that decision. But I can think about scenarios where it's not that, and you get a different result, and you wonder why that happened. But I think truly, when you get to a certain age, in order to show a man how to do it, it needs to be shown by a man, right? So I think about what she's done and her sacrifice and how great she was in her own respective career and how she drugged me and my brother to Toastmaster meetings and I not know what it was about and why we were even, participating in something like that. And now I'm on Eric the Great's podcast thinking about if I'm saying or or all those word fillers that you can't be doing when you're in a Toastmasters, right? And then I just think about, you know, just different coaches I've had throughout my athletic career and different teachers and professors. So it's just those normal people that you just watch closely that would be considered my Mount Rushmore, right? I got Abe Lincoln in the background, right? Some would say he's one of the top presidents of all time. And when I got into this industry, I found out a story that I never really knew, but we hear certain reasons of why he was assassinated or who actually assassinated. But I know one thing that he wanted to have happen. He wanted us to actually, meaning Black people, African Americans, Negroes, or whatever they were referred to at the time, to be financially free. And he wanted an actual finance committee to figure out how we can free these people, but not financially give them liberation. So he actually wanted to create that committee to make sure that we were building programs for us to not only be free and out of bondage, but how can we now earn our own dollar, keep a dollar, and build that wealth in our community. And you think about just him having that foresight and that want to, or that vision for us as a people, I think that I want to be able to continue to live that out. And the fact that I have my youngest son's name is Lincoln, I'm like, man, was that a coincidence that I'm in finances and that was his vision? And now I would like to believe that Lincoln may be involved in continuing to have that happen, right? So I would say just those close folks, right? Grandpa, father, brother, mother, and one of the greats of all time when it comes to a leader of our country. I'm sure there were some flaws, and some people want to question that he really want to free the slaves, and we can get into that rabbit hole. But there's a lot of things to be said that we can continue to just pick the good out of each and everybody's background, and kind of just make sure we fulfill those dreams.
Absolutely. Like I tell people all the time, I feel like every kid or anybody have a kid should be involved in some type of sport. And it's not to try to go to the league or anything like that. But like I was explaining to some of my other friends, they got kids and stuff, and they don't have their kids in sports and stuff like that. I was trying to explain to them, I was like, when I was a kid, uh, certain lessons that you don't pay attention to that you learn from being in sports, like being responsible, being on time, being held accountable, learning how to deal with different kids from different backgrounds, learning how to, even if you might not like a kid, but y'all still on the same team, y'all got to get on the same page together because you got to do that as an adult. Like, like you might have somebody a job you don't care for, but hey, the job got to get done, so you got to put that aside. You know what I'm saying? So it's like little small nuggets like that, especially for kids that might not have a father figure. Like the coaches, real coaches, like really be father figures in a lot of people's households, taking them home from practice,
Right.
making sure they do their homework, all type of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that I think some parents overlook that comes with instilling values and stuff in kids by them just playing just a simple sport when they're a kid, when they're younger.
That's right. And I had many of coaches, believed in me before I may even believe in myself, right? And that's usually all it takes. And, those rides home, those stops at McDonald's or Wendy's, man, and just the sacrifice that they have to make and pouring into young men and women. Yeah, definitely would consider you coaches of mine in that Mount Rushmore as well.
Absolutely. So, closing remarks, man. Anything else you want to say about your financial practice, and also let people know how they can get in contact with you if they're interested. How would they go about doing that?
Oh yeah, I would just
Your
say,
social media and things too.
yeah, I think I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn, and I got my staff that really works that and make sure we're following and staying in the flow. So I'm old school, kind of just call me, shoot me a text, right? But yeah, I would tell people, man, again, if you really are interested in just trying to get a plan in place, right? Just invest in yourself, right? It really is all about sacrificing some time and having some conversations with a financial professional, right? Um, there's going to be some firms that charge a fee to have a conversation. Again, I usually run my practice on a relationship based basis. So if you are in the same circles or you're referred to me, or obviously you're following Eric Great's podcast, love to be able to help any and everybody that's interested in having that conversation. But yeah, we are definitely open for business and hiring and bringing on new clients. We're growing the team. We're doing big things. And, we see ourselves leading the company in different areas here in the next few years, definitely taking our practice to the next level, getting mentors across the country that's willing to pour into us to help us with mindset and taking us to the next level. I'm giving back and pouring into younger advisors to get them to think bigger and take it to the next level. But, as it relates to just, the fear, I think, is the biggest thing for us. I kind of compare investing, right? When you think about a lot of times we don't do some of the things that we're not familiar with, or if you can visualize a black pool party, right? There's not much people swimming, right? There's a lot of designer shorts and designer bikinis or swimsuits or even flip flops, but the whole reason for the pool party, was to get in the pool. You would think, but for some reason, we would rather just stay on the sideline, look all good and lotioned up, and not necessarily get wet. And that's kind of how we mostly think about investing too. We hear it's a good thing, and we hear people make a bunch of money, but we kind of just don't like getting into the pool for some odd reason. And I think most of it is because we just don't quite know what we don't know, right? So I would challenge people to dive into the unknown, right? Because you'll be surprised on what you discover, right? And that's with anything in life, right? Dive in to what you may not think you're interested in, because you'd be surprised, and you may be surprised at the results when you discover it's not that complicated, right? I just have to change my mindset about it. And I think when it comes to money and finances, it's really a mindset. When we can change our mindset around anything, you definitely see some progress and some results.
Okay. So, do you guys have a website? With you guys' phone number?
Yeah, man. Folks can find me at just lance.c.fields@nm.com. You can email me, same place. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter. Again, inbox me. Whatever. But we out here again. Eric, you got my information. If people hit you up on the DM, Eric, just share my information, man. We're available. Again, we want folks to take this serious, right? And be the agent of change, right? It's going to start with someone in your family or in our family to change that trajectory of that legacy, right? Is right. It only takes one Bill Gates, right? You know what I mean? So to change the trajectory of his entire Gate family, right? And, his dad was quite successful himself, right? But it really only takes one to kind of change that family legacy and just those principles, right? We all should have those family trusts, family bylaws, and really we all should be running our family as a business if we want to really kind of pass it on and take it serious.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. I think this will be a lot of very beneficial information for everybody that's probably just sitting at home and thinking about plans that they could do with their finances, but not knowing that there's actual people out here that could walk them through the process and make it a little less stressful than them having to do it by themselves.
That's right. Teamwork makes the dream work, man. I will never get credit for all the zeros we add to your financial plan or your net worth, right? I'm accountability partner. So treat me just like a, personal finance trainer, right? And, most of us, if we pay that personal trainer, they're going to show up for the gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just you don't want to let him down or yourself down. You've already invested in it. You might as well just show up and work out and get fit. I would say it's no different when it comes to our finances. Just prioritize it, right? If we prioritize the finances and the easiest thing is just track where the money's going, right? If we know where the money's going, we can make plans on how to redirect.
Absolutely, man. And this concludes another episode of Eric J. the Great Podcast. Need everybody to tap in with Lance Fields. Go to his website, hit him up. Very beneficial. Everybody should have a financial planner in their life, and just to oversee the plan your future out, especially if you plan to have kids and things like that. You know, you don't want them to be in the same situations that you were in when you was growing up. So try to, get a hold of your finances early. I appreciate everybody that's been subscribing to the podcast. We just hit 4,000 subscribers today on YouTube, so I appreciate everybody that's been subscribing to the show. And be on the lookout for more dope content. Freeway Ricky Ross interview drops on August 7th. It's probably gonna be my biggest interview, so I look forward to that dropping. Debating on dropping it earlier, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to be patient or not, but
Yes,
how that work out. But
congratulations, man. That's a big moment, man. 4,000. Man, I know Ricky Ross through the roof, man. That's the living legend, man. Everybody was on that snowfall, and he don't probably get the credit that he's deserved. But I was a big fan of all the narco and all the different things, and just understanding, because we only seen building wealth through, you know, being a baller or being a dope boy. So I'll be excited to hear his story. I know he has different layers to it, and I'm excited that he's on the right path and making that generational wealth the way he is on the legal side. That's exciting. So congratulations to you. I'll be excited to tap into that episode, and thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you.
I don't know.